Hey, what's up, you guys? I'm with Alex today, and we're finally doing the deck profile you all want to see. What deck is it?
Phantasm Spirals.
Sweet. So, well, tell me a little about this deck. How long you been playing it? What do you think of it?
It's been a couple months now. I started online as soon as I heard about it, built it up there, kind of streamlined it, and then like these past 2 weeks, I've been collecting all the cards and putting it all together.
Yeah, it's fun. It's cheap. Let's see what it's about.
All right. So as you can see by the lag here, this is going to be the dinosaur variant, but my special water dinosaur variant. So I'm running Spiral at 2. He's the most powerful card in your deck. He'll be doing the most damage, and the reason he'll be doing damage is because you're going to be using normal level 4 monsters to do your attacks, but once he comes out, he'll probably get a direct attack or do piercing, and he does big damage when he comes out. I run him at 2 because you want to be able to special summon him, and you don't want to get cloggy hands, so I don't really want him at 3. So I run these guys, Megasmasher X and Kabuzauls. I run them for the sake of getting into my rank 4s. As you can see, they're Water Dinosaurs, so I have access to both Bahamut Shark and the Xyz Dinos. That's really powerful because you want to get into those guys at the drop of a hat. Because as you'll see, this deck isn't actually that great at Xyz summoning. So when you can, you got to do it and do it right. I also run one Rescue Rabbit for the same purpose. He just gets into my Xyz really quickly when I need him, either early game or mid game. Hopefully not late game. That was actually it for the monsters. So, 3 to field spell. This is your Playmaker. It is the most important card in this deck. When you have this out, you get your search power on your turn and your opponent's turn, as well as you can keep tokens on the field when your opponent activates a card effects. You can even get 2 out at once, which I don't truly understand that, but YGOPro showed me it's possible. So, of course, you need 3 terraformings. You could go lower, but you really want to see that field spell, so I choose 3. Next up, I've got the equip spells of the deck. Wave, Crash, and Grip.
So, what
Grip,
do each of these do?
I'm about to go into it. Grip gives your monsters a 500 attack point boost, and when they destroy a monster at battle, it special summons a spiral from your hand, deck, or graveyard, and then deals 1,000 damage to your opponent. That's pretty great, honestly. I love getting this to resolve. But I only run it at 2 because you don't want any cloggy hands. Crash, I should note, is only at 1 in this deck because it's got the most lackluster effect. It gives your monster piercing, but of course, if you do battle damage with it, you'll special summon Spiral, and you will switch an opponent's monster to defense, and since Spiral can attack, then he can pierce that monster using this card too. And of course, Waves at 2 in here. It's really useful because it can save your monster from being struck by battle once per turn. And as long as the monster battles, it'll special summon a spiral at the end of the battle phase. So you can't attack with that spiral, but it's really useful, and you'll drop a card out of your opponent's hand. Sadly, they get to choose what it is. These are really strong cards, and it's up to you at what numbers to run them. You just gotta be careful of not getting bricky hands with them. And speaking of not getting bricky hands, I run 3 Fossil Digs and 3 Unexpected Dies for consistency's sake. I want to get into my monsters. As you saw, I had a low monster count, so these are effectively just monsters. Because of the field spell, Unexpected Dai might be a little bit less useful than Fossil Dig, but the speed is the key here. Alright, here's the fun of the deck. Card of Demise.
This was my idea.
Yes, it was.
Sort of.
It's the draw power of the deck. It's a little dicey, but because I have a very low monster count and a high spell and trap count, mostly spells, you can set most of your hand most of the time for this card. You know, maybe have 1 monster in your hand, and that would suck. But other than that, it's okay. I do have to mention that it stops you special summoning and doing battle damage during that turn, so you gotta know you're not gonna pop off on that turn when you use it. But that's okay, because if you also have this little number, Heat Wave, your opponent won't be popping off either.
Yeah, no, this is crazy.
Yes, because it also stops you from special summoning, so same restrictions, but your opponent can't either. And it's really, really great.
So, what made you run 3 copies instead of 2? Just because it's so strong?
Yes, the reason I run Heatwave at 3 is because it's simply powerful and has very little effect on my deck. I simply can't exceed someone when I use it. Okay, I've used Heatwave. My opponent's not doing anything anyway.
Right, yeah.
And so you can really power through your opponent when you get Heatwave at the beginning of the duel and the middle of the duel. Now it's got some Twin Twisters at 2. You want to use some kind of spell and trap removal from those certain decks that have them. I would prefer you guys use Mystical Space Typhoon because the discard effect isn't that great. And you don't need to pop things that much these days anyway. 1 Raigeki for more removal. Just 1. It's useful when it comes up. And that was it for the spells of the deck. Next up, we have these 4 traps. They are actually 2 out of the 3 traps for the archetype, but the third one I don't actually find very useful. It's the win condition, and it's a very hard one to resolve, so I don't worry about it. The ones I do use are Battle and Power. Battle allows you to pop 1 card in the field as long as you have a normal monster on the field and only normal monsters. So in this deck, you're probably always going to be using it. You just got to be careful not to have an disease monster out when you're using it. And so you can pop just about anything. And so being able to search this makes it very powerful, and it can be used from the hand if you have the field spell out. So great. This card can negate monster effects and reduce their attack and defense by 1,000. That's powerful in its own right. And depending on what you're facing, you'll be going after this more or this more. But having them both in the same deck is just really great. Finally, the piece of resistance. Skill Drain. Of course I had it. Everyone uses it. But Skill Drain is great just to shut out your opponent. It doesn't affect you nearly as much as it affects them. So feel free to run it. I wish you could run it at more than just 1. But it is what it is. You're going to get in the Heat Wave more. But just having access to Skill Drain too is really great. On to the extra deck cards. So I'm just going to show off Lagia and Dolka. Don't get mad at me. I only have 1 Dolka. But I would ideally run them both at 2. You can get into these guys really easily. The more useful one is Dolka, I found. Being able to negate monster effects is really crucial, and he can do 2 instead of Lagia's 1. Back in the day, Lagia would have been more useful, but obviously Dolka, with the game as the game is today, he's the more useful one. Because in 1 chain, you can do 2 negations. That pretty much means you win that chain. So it's great. It really is. And that's not all, really, because I also have my Bahamut Shark for a totally awesome play. As you saw by my monster choices, I can go into this very easily. Choosing between it and Dolka can be dicey, but you have to decide it based on what you think the situation is. But you all know Totally Awesome is very powerful, so having access to it makes this deck a real threat. And, well, I should mention I run a nice little suite of Xyz monsters, just generic things to help me through various situations. Abyss Dweller is the most important one because it is a great check for certain decks out there. This deck can't deal with graveyard effects at all, so if you can get Abyss Dweller out with that attack buff, it's really great to have him out. It's just really tough to get him out because Xyz summoning's a bit restricted, as you've seen. I run a Diamond Crab King so I can get over 2,900 in case I'm in a mirror match. Honestly, I hope I never have to deal with a mirror match, but that's why I run Diamond Crab King. And of course, you run Castel. Tornado Dragon's great for what he does too, and Honor Arc, and Super Quantal. But yeah, that's the deck. This has been my Water Dinosaur version of Phantasm Spirals. And this has been the Summer of Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope you like it.
Yeah, remember, new vids every day. Subscribe. You don't want to miss them. I think that's going to be it. So if you guys like it, give it a thumbs up, give some feedback, share your builds, and see you guys in the next one.